One of the main incentives I think that funders have provided is the fact that we now recognize data sets as their own standalone research output. So we ask on applications, it's specific, it's not in other anymore. Give us, list your publications and list other. No, we ask specifically what are the data sets, and are they open? Give us the DOI. So that's an incentive. You don't want to leave that field blank. And on the progress reports, especially for early career scientists, the fact that you can have a data set and have shared your data set before a publication, or even if that data set didn't give you the answer that didn't confirm your hypothesis, you still put it out there, and funders do value that. That gives you credit for the research that you have done with that grant money. So I think that's a huge incentive that we say we value it, and you don't just have to put it in a negative publication. You put it out there. It is important. So I think that's one incentive. We are also recommending that funders, as I said, this is a big topic of mine, resource appropriately. We're working to convince funders that it's worth not giving one grant to be able to adequately resource data sharing to the others, and highlighting the value in accelerating the pace of discovery by sharing your open research.
So our mission is to accelerate the pace of discovery and inform the path to a cure for Parkinson's disease through collaboration, research enabling resources, and data sharing. I really liked how Frank opened up this session in talking about how this is really about culture change, because our belief is that we need that culture change in science to accelerate the pace of discovery. And so everything that we do is really built in strategy-wise to get to that point. So how are we supporting data sharing? And I've listed out a couple of the ways that we're thinking about it. First, we fund a project manager position. So in each of our teams that are across 3 to 5 labs, we have a position in our grant that has to be budgeted for that project manager, not to just facilitate the work across the team, but also to assist with that data curation and support the open access policies and reduce some of the roadblocks there. Secondly, we support collaboration tools for our grantees to promote sharing infrastructure, because we recognize that different institutions have different preferences, and we give unlimited cloud-based storage as well as communication channels. The third is that we facilitate working groups within our network. So we look at the projects that we fund, and we identify areas where there's overlap to bring those groups together to develop standardized templates for how data should be reported out. I just want to stress that as a funder, we're not saying you have to absolutely do it this way or that way. It's more of we need to come together to really recognize what the challenges are and be open about those limitations, and then come together to talk about what is possible and feasible, because everyone wants to have their research mean something, and that's really why we're here. The fourth is developing educational resources and training. Here we use the preprint stage. We ask that all of our grantees submit preprints, and we use that as an opportunity to follow up with the grantee. We partner with DataSeer, where we evaluate the open science-ness. So we look at all the open science objects, and we follow up with our grantees to help them do best practices. So that way, at time of final publication, research outputs are linked and shared. And we're continually course correcting and improving in that process as well. And then lastly, we also hold network-wide events with our grantees, where we're also asking them to share preliminary data in their presentations, because again, our whole idea is that we want to stimulate open discourse about science and really move the field forward. Essentially, we need best practices, right? So if you are already talking to the person that is ready to do open science, it is not always still clear what they're supposed to do in terms of where they should be depositing, but also how they should be citing and referencing in their paper. So for example, one of the things that FASEB has done is we've partnered with DataSeer that uses natural language processing. So we feed the preprints into DataSeer system. They create a report for us of the open science objects that we can follow up and use that preprint as a training tool to educate and say, look at all the amazing things you've shared, or, here are some things that best practices say that you forgot to cite, or, you need to deposit. Here's a recommended depository. So that way we're working with our grantees to figure out a process. So that way a final publication is ready to go.
No, I can quickly say that we are now starting evaluating that on our submissions process. So we are asking for, let's say, open science readiness. This now is considered as a plus. It's nothing that we, if you don't have, or is kind of penalize your application. It's considered a plus, and we are looking at across the entire career. It's not just for that specific application. If you have an attitude of open sharing, you can cite papers or cite DOIs of data sets or a digital repositories page where this work has been highlighted and will take into consideration. I don't think it was going to stay forever as a plus. Probably throughout the years it's becoming more and more important point to evaluate how we assign grants. So we hope that this transition will be smooth.